In this lesson, we will introduce a framework to architecture applications using modules. We will use the e-bidding application to illustrate the framework. And this framework organizes the modules into three different layers. The bottom layer is the libraries modules layer. This layer contains modules with functionality that is highly reusable and business agnostic. An example of this is the Google Static Map module that we got from the Forge and that we used in the previous lesson. Moving on to the middle layer, this is the core business modules layer, and this layer contains functionality that is business related and is reused by other modules. In our example, both the suppliers module and the products module are core business modules. Finally, the top layer, the end user modules, this layer contains modules with functionality for the end user interaction, and that is not reused by other modules. An example is the e-bidding module in our e-bidding application. And we've seen in the previous lessons that the e-bidding module needs to reference the suppliers and the products module and also the Google Static Map module. Now, whenever you need to implement new functionality in your application, or you are designing your application at the beginning, you should ask yourself the following questions to determine where you're going to put this functionality. The first question, is this functionality reusable or not? You already know from the descriptions of these layers that reusable functionality should be placed in one of these two bottom layers. The second question you should ask yourself is this functionality business related? Is it around a business concept? Or is this functionality generic? So if it is generic, then it should be placed in the library modules. If it is business related, it should be placed in the core business modules layer. Finally, if this functionality is not to be reused, then it should be placed in the end user modules. To make this a little bit more clear, let's see a few examples of how to put this framework into practice. First example, I want to register significant events for suppliers. You probably recall this from a previous lesson, but let's use our framework to see where we're going to put this functionality. Is this a reusable functionality or not? We did use this in the e-bidding application to register that the supplier placed the bid for a product request. But we can use this functionality for any other application that needs to register events for suppliers. For instance, if we have a contract management application, we might want to register that the new contract was signed. So this is reusable functionality. Is it business related or is it business specific? The second question is this functionality business related or is it generic? We want to register events for suppliers, and suppliers here, this is a business concept. So this is business related, and as so it should be placed in this middle layer, the core business modules. Now, we need to see if we already have a module to place this functionality. And in this case, we actually have a module already in our application to handle the business concept of suppliers. So this module is where we're going to put this functionality. And actually, you remembered from a previous lesson that we added here to the suppliers module the suppliers activity, entity, and the action to register these events. So this example here is a functionality that we're going to add to the core business modules to an existing module. Let's see the second example. I want to be able to create a purchase order when requests are closed. So when I close a request in the e-bidding application, I want to create, with that action, I want to create also a purchase order for the winning supplier of that product request. So let's use the framework again. Is this reusable functionality? Well, I want to create a purchase order in the e-bidding application, but I may have other applications that have the same need to create a purchase order, just on a different event other than the request being closed. So this is a functionality that I may want to reuse in my applications. So this is reusable. It should be placed in one of these two bottom layers. Second question, is this business related or is this generic? In this case, I want to create a purchase order. So the purchase order here, again, this is a business concept. So I want to place this functionality again in this middle layer in the core business modules layer. Now, do I have a module in my application? Do I have a module already to handle purchase orders? I don't. I have a module for suppliers and for products. They don't handle purchase orders. So I need to add a new module in my architecture that will handle purchase orders and that will have an action to create a purchase order that I am going to reuse in the bidding application. So again, this is a functionality that we're adding to the core business modules layer. Let's see the final example. I want to be able to manage these purchase orders. And to manage the purchase orders here, I mean that I want to handle all the end user interaction that involves different people with different roles to manage these purchase orders. So again, coming back to our framework, is this a reusable functionality? Well, I don't want my end users to go to different applications in order to manage these purchase orders. So this is something that is not reusable. It should be handled by a specific application, and as so, it's not functionality that we're going to add to e-bidding application, but it will still need to be placed in the end user modules layer. So I'm going to add a new application to this layer, the order manager, where I'm going to have an order manager module and probably other modules as well to handle the manage purchase order and functionality. So this is something that will go into the end user modules. And just to complete here the example, the order manager module will need to reference the orders module as well. And that's it.